on a very short notice because of the situation and the escalation of the Russian aggression that's been going on for the last few weeks in Ukraine, especially over the last 10 days or so, with the Russians taking cities and villages and towns and major chunks of property as they're moving forward. This is like an emergency meeting. And so Emmanuel Macron, now France hasn't said whether or not they will send troops. Germany has not said whether they will send troops. And then you got to think that those Baltic nations up there are very concerned, and we've talked about that. But for Slovakia, Romania, and Poland, now this is again unconfirmed on those three nations. But what I do confirm is that the Slovakian prime minister is pushing that it needs to happen, that it's going to happen, and it should be a bilateral basis. In other words, he doesn't want to just send troops in there by himself unilaterally and take on and join the Ukrainians to fight the Russians. But he's saying we got to do this bilaterally. The information I'm getting is that the two other nations are going to do it with them. It's going to be Romania and Poland teaming up with Slovakia to send actual troops into Ukraine to fight the Russians. There's a reason for this, guys, because Slovakia, Romania, and Poland once were all under the USSR, communist regimes, and the KGB, where Vladimir Putin was one of the leading members of the KGB during that period of time of the Cold War. But the Russian rule over those nations, and it wasn't just Slovakia, Romania, and Poland, but also, Estonia, Latvia, and Slovakia. Those other three nations, what's known as the Baltic states. But the big boys, Slovakia, Romania, and Poland, if they're sending troops into Ukraine, that is a whole different ballgame. And then now you start thinking NATO is involved now. I mean, in a bigger way than just sending supplies, sending ammunition, sending planes and helicopters and rocket launchers and different types of drones and all the different things that the United States and the other members of NATO have been sending in there to fight against the Russians. This is huge. This would be a huge moment if NATO sends in three armies from three nations. And these three nations, the reason these three would step up instead of, let's say, the United States or Great Britain or France is because Slovakia, Romania, and Poland were once all under Russian control. And there's no way they want to go back to that. And they see Russia making its move. They see them taking ground and headed in their direction. And they've seen troops, Russian troops, move up along the Polish border and along the border of Belarus and closer to the, to the Baltic states. And so all of this is starting to set up what could be World War III.